Okay, so recently I did a class called a WowZFold class, and this is the sample card you can see there that I had for the image for the class, and I cased this off of the demonstrator Facebook group. I'd never really done any classes like this. I'm kind of more of a traditional scrapbooker card maker, so when I saw this, I thought this is super cool, and I really liked the Falling in Love Designer Series paper, which was what also inspired this card. So I since have kind of made a few modifications. This one, for example, is more or less like the original, and then I went on and made a boy version, which you have also seen the image posted on, the image is posted on to Pinterest, and sorry, I'm just going to try this out because I've never done it before. No, guess that doesn't work. So basically, yeah, and it's the same card, just not quite, yeah, basically the same, but I used Emerald Envy and crushed curry in different colors. So and I used the silver glimmer paper, so because we do have various colors, and I wanted to do that as well. So I'm going to show you guys the basics of how to make one of these cards. I had said I would post a video, and I'm still learning this whole video business. I'm trying out today with my SLR, and I realized that I can't zoom with this in live, or I don't know how yet, so bear with me. I'm going to just play with it for the next couple of times. I've concluded that my cell phone just doesn't have enough memory to do these kinds of things, so I'm moving on from that. But yeah, I think the most important thing about showing you guys how to make one of these cards is the idea of course, the dimensions and where to score. And once you have the basics of that, you can cut matting for the background, you can cut your designer series papers. Then we use the Lift Me Up stamp set and the coordinating thinlits for both the cutting out of the images and the background. That's where your balloon comes from. And more or less, that's kind of the general idea. The clouds come from the thinlits as well. It has an amazing wow factor. Anyone who receives a card like this from you will be super impressed. It's a beautiful card you can see there to put on display, stands beautifully. So I really liked it. I don't have the sample of this one to show you because I actually gave it to my nephew. That's what I made this one for, that says Reese. And today I'm going to actually make a completely new colors collection because I'm making one for my father-in-law whom is turning 65 on Tuesday. So for him, because I saw this is girly obviously, and then I kind of exhausted doing this, and this one I used for a little boy. What I chose for today is to do my card base in Delightful Dijon. And that was inspired by picking the designer series paper I wanted to use because when you make a card like this, you still have to take into consideration that you are going to put the letters on it, and you want to kind of have a little bit of space for maybe writing happy birthday or stamping or whatever you so desire to do. You know, this card can be, I had said at my class, you could put thanks across there, and it can be just a generic thank you card. You don't have to have the numbers, of course. It could be an anniversary card. You could just put congrats and then the number. I also said for a baby card, which I think this would be a beautiful baby card as well, is you could put welcome as your letters. And all of the letters and numbers come from our large letters and large numbers framelits. So, and I'm not going to actually do the big shot and cut those out for you today, but I'm going to show you kind of the general idea. So again, the basics of this card are pretty simple, and it has such amazing wow factor. So I am going to go through how to do that. So that's what we're going to use. For the matting, I'm using the watermelon color. So these are from the 2015 to 17 collection. And this designer series paper is from the Celebration paper that we currently have for the hot air balloons. So right now, we have in Celebration this Carried Away designer series paper, and all of the DSPs always have a list on the actual paper of the colors, the coordinating colors. So I went with this and said, okay, what color is this? Delightful Dijon is one of the colors. So actually, sorry, Night of Navy, and that kind of made me go from there. And then Watermelon Wonder, and then I figured out that this must be Delightful Dijon. Actually, this is peach, sorry. So I should probably be using the peach one. basically, and yeah, and then you can kind of do that. So you could be using the peach or the Delightful Dijon. I'm going to use Delightful Dijon. I don't think it's going to matter for me personally that maybe it's not an exact match. They're pretty close. This is a lighter tone, of course, but it's your personal choice. If you wanted it to be a perfect match, then of course use that. For your 12 by 12 papers, you can currently buy them in the color collections. And of course, for this one, I got this one from the 2015 to 17 pack. You can, of course, use your 2016 to 18 pack. And of course, you get you can get your Regals and your Brights and all of that. So go from there. And that's kind of how I got to where I am with the color collections. I'll also show you this. I made this little cheat sheet when I cased this card off of YouTube, and I cut it out. I made the notes of where to score and how to cut my matting and my DSP, just to have that on hand for doing that. And of course the little piece that goes with it to make your flap, I call it. One really important thing that I'm going to say right now before I go on to do this, because I did make the mistake in my face-to-face class, is that this card has the big 6x6 piece as the base at the back, and your two little pieces, your two little flaps, are on the left hand side, so your card opens like this. When I made my little cheat sheet, I did it upside down, so when I went and did the samples with the other people, I ended up having them do it backwards. So basically, this is how I should have made my little cheat sheets, to remember that these two smaller pieces are on the left. So I'll make sure I do that properly today. And when it's weird, because I didn't realize that when I did my other one. I have no clue how I managed that, but when the ladies at my class came to do it, that's when we figured out pretty quickly that I should have told them to make sure that you have these pieces on the left when you start applying your designer series paper, because otherwise, ta-da, we had it upside down. So, okay, so how do you cut and score starting with your 12 by 12? Basically, one side you keep at a 12 inch, and the other side you're gonna cut at 7.5. So we start with the 7.5, we cut it off, then we are going to do our score lines, and if the score lines are at 6 and 9, so if we go to 6, and we score, and we go to 9, and we score, it looks like this, but this is of course much larger than the card that we have, as you can see, but that's because we are going to cut off the strip that we use for this guy. And that is at a 1.5 inch strip. So because you've scored them already, you know the score lines are going to match up, and we're just going to go to 1.5, and we are going to cut that off, and ta-da, we've got our card base, which of course goes this way with your two smaller pieces, and then your base piece. And I'm not going to fold them yet, just because I think it's actually a lot easier to stamp this piece that we put on for this piece that we've stamped with our Delicate Detail stamp set. It's a lot easier to stamp on that if you haven't bent them already, which you'll figure out pretty quickly because it's easier to go in a straight line when it's flat. So those are our card bases. Next thing is the matting for the two background pieces, and those are at, I'm gonna just kind of, not gonna move my stuff quite as much here. I'm just gonna cut. I'll just move this to the side. So for our matting, we're going to do it at 5 3/4 and by 5 3/4. So 5 3/4 by 5 3/4. Okay, and then of course our other two pieces are 2 3/4 by 5 3/4. So let's go 5 3/4 for this matching piece. And then 2 3/4 should, and this other piece should be 2 3/4. No, it's not. It's because I used a 12 inch piece before. So I got that one and then that one, and I'll just grab another piece. Oh, that's why I've got this piece right here. Smart cookie, right? 5 3/4. Let's go by that. Cut this off, so 2 3/4. Okay. Ta-da-da-da, where we go. Clear those out of the way. And then we've got our matting. and our 2 pieces of matching pieces. All right, let's do our designer series paper. So remember, when you're using designer series paper, pick which direction you want to go. For your base piece, your 5 and you're going to be doing the exact same size anyway. It's 5 and 10/16 by 5 and 10/16. So that one is actually like a square, but the other ones are going to be which direction you want to go. Do you want your lines to go like horizontal or vertical? Yeah, so I guess I get to decide that. I like horizontal, so let's go with that. So this is going to be 10/16, so 10. So 10 is right there. 12, 14, 16, 12, 14, 16. Yeah, so that one right there. And we're going to do that for all of them. So that's 5, 10/16 by 5, 10/16. So there's that one. And we're doing horizontal. This one should work out pretty good. So for the length, these ones are 2 and 10/16. These ones should probably fit. And then by 5, 10/16. Does that fit? Yes, it does. So, you're smart like that. And use the paper properly, which I often don't do because I'm just go too quick. All right, so then we have those pieces there. Alrighty, so that's our cutting for that business. And you'll see pretty quickly how this goes together pretty simply. So I'm going to sit down so make sure that I can see what I'm doing here. Okay, so let's put these together so we can make sure that we don't mess this part up. And then I'll show you how to do the flap. All right, so this is how, you can't quite see the score lines here, but they are there. And we'll use some of our snail adhesive. Oh, of course, that one would run out right now on me. All of our snails, of course, refillable, as you all know. Then we go that one here. Okay, pieces in there. Alrighty, as you can tell, these ones are going to go on here. And you can pick if you want them, which colorway you want to go. If you want now, the color. Oh, look at that, doesn't fit because I didn't cut it properly apparently. Okay, so then the other thing is, sorry guys, I'm trying to rush. This is I'm a little nervous doing this in front of everybody. I've never done it before like this, so. All right, so you want them up, facing down or up? So I think I like down better. Looks more like banner. All right, so then you can put those on. It's also really fun about our designer series papers is, of course, you can flip things around. When you're making these cards, you don't really see this piece very much because it's kind of like on the side. So if you wanted to flip it and have kind of a busier background, you could do something like that as well. But I'm going to stick with doing them all the same on this one. Okay. Okay, so that's that. Alrighty, now we're gonna do this piece and word to the wise here. So what happens is that your card folds like that, but the longer piece is the piece that you need to have attaching to the front. So when you're doing your stamping, make sure that you're going, that this is the top and this is the bottom, because we are going to trim it in a scallop format on the bottom. When I did one of the other day in the class, we did it upside down, and I mean, who cares? We're the only ones that know, right? But that's what I'm gonna aim for. So just remember that this longer piece, which is your bottom base of your card, is actually the top piece in this one, so it's kind of like upside down, okay? So we're gonna get stamping and to show you how to do this one. And we're gonna start with I'm gonna use Night of Navy. And this is a Celebration stamp set, the Delicate Details, which of course looks like this. Okay, and I'm going to make sure that I'm moving closer. This is an experiment for me, guys, using this camera. It's much closer to the back than what I'm used to, so I'm going to move up a little bit there. And what's fun about these stamps is, of course, they're bendable, but also makes it a little difficult sometimes to make sure that they are in a straight line. Okay. Okay, and then we're going to line it up. The last piece. Here comes my kids. Hopefully they don't interrupt. And keep on trucking here. Okay, and there you go. Okay, so that's that. And then we are going to swap this out with the other stamp, which is the scalloped one. And then we will cut by hand. Okay, thank you for your patience. Like I said, this is kind of a learning experience for me. All right, and then we're going to use a different color for that one. We'll probably come back to Night of Navy when we do our balloons in a minute. Okay. Sorry, this is not straight and it's bugging me. I usually use my grid paper background to make sure that they're straight. Okay, sorry. Some of you are going to be much more expert at using the photopolymer than me, so please don't judge too harshly. All right. Okay, and then we're going to line it up like that. Okay. Some of my ink pads are way more juiced up than the other ones, and it kind of takes me off guard a little bit, but that's okay. They are beautiful stamps when they go down the way they should. Okay. You could also distress it if you wanted to kind of give it kind of a more dirtier kind of distressed look, which is what I did with this guy because I'd kind of dropped my ink pad on it when I was making it and I thought I was gonna cry, but you can see here where that happened. But whatever, I'm the only one that knows that that happened, so I decided to just kind of distress it a bit so it would blend in a bit better. Yeah, so then we're gonna use our snips and cut this guy. And no, I don't have one done so that we can skip and save time, but I could possibly cut this out if I was that technologically advanced to know how to do that, which I'm not as of yet, so you're probably gonna be sitting there watching me do this, just until I get through it. But it's authentic, right? So happy Friday to everybody, right? I know. I used to teach school, so I can kind of multitask and talk shop and do kinds of things at the same time here as we near the end. It's kind of like being a dentist or dental hygienist where, oh, actually the best is when you go to the lab to get some blood work done and they, of course, poke you and then are like, so what do you have on for the weekend, to distract you. And you know what? It's funny because even as an adult, it still works, right? And look at that, before you know it, we're all done. Okay, so back to the second part that I was talking about, the important part, is that the bigger piece goes in the front. So the next step is to put down your flap, because most of the next final pieces that you're gonna put together on here are all your little decorative things that make it so very beautiful, and they all revolve around where you put the flap. So the flap really dictates a lot. You can put it a little higher, you could put it a little lower. The other thing is your hot air balloon and how you want that to go, because remember to continue to put it flat so you can see where this is gonna go, and make sure you don't go too far over this way too, because if you want to put it in in an envelope, it won't fit. And yes, you can make an envelope with the envelope punch board. You have to get really creative because this particular card is bigger than the biggest one on the envelope punch board. But it can be done. I did do it and I will do it again. You just have to get a little creative, that's all, with your score lines. So so before I glue that on and show you, we're just going to pretend it's kind of like scrapbooking, like we're doing a layout. So I have already cut out my glimmer paper hot air balloon. And so that guy is going to sit right here. On this particular sample one, I have little pieces of vellum cloud attached. You can't quite see there, and I'm sorry that this is kind of a distance away. I might have to try to see if I can make this lower. It's not perfect or ideal, so please don't be too harsh on me, but whatever, getting her done here. So that guy's gonna go there. Sorry, my phone is ringing. And then my lettering I'm going to do is my, right here is Papa. And so I've already cut those out of the glimmer paper with the large letters. Okay, so they are right there. And of course I've got the vellum pieces cut out, and the only thing we have left to do before we put her all together is to stamp the hot air balloons. And then we can start putting it all together. All right, so we're gonna put this guy on first. So how do you do this? Well, next thing you can do is you can actually, of course, fold your score lines now for this guy, which is, it's gonna go like this. And you can, of course, adhere it to your card. So this one is going to be glued on this piece that attaches to the front, and it's going to have glue on the back piece, which attaches right there. And the easiest thing to do is really just lay it the way it's going to be stuck and put your glue on the back and onto the pieces that are going to actually have glue. Okay, and then simply put it right onto your card the way it is going to be sitting flush. Okay, and voila, there you go. All right, so there is your Z fold right there, and the card base itself. Now, this guy was cut out with the glimmer paper and the thinlits, and then I actually glued it onto some vellum with just my snail. That was another big question. Lots of ladies will tell you to use the fine tip glue. That drives me bonkers. I don't have the patience. And I'm really not that picky about using snail, and having a little tiny bit of it come through the holes doesn't bother me. If it bothers you, please use whatever adhesive you prefer. This works for me. And then I actually just fussy cutted it out with scissors because there is no framelit in the set to cut the big balloon, like a solid shaped balloon for this guy, unlike the other smaller ones. So this works perfect. If you want it to be stiffer, then you could use like the window sheets, or you could double up on the vellum. This works for me. I'm quite happy with it. Even though on this guy, of course, it's a little bit bendier than you might like. You know, it's kind of flopping over a smidgen. But again, it's totally personal preference. Other than, of course, I am going to use the fast fuse, which is, of course, like our heavier duty kind of glue, to attach this guy to the actual. Okay, so put some fast fuse on there, kind of bulk her up a little bit, pick where you're going to put this guy. Okay, go on there, and then where you go, there's, we've got our hot air balloon attached. Okay, when it comes to the adding on of all of your pieces of, and I've moved it and now I can't find it. Oh, my little baggie of all of your pieces of your clouds that you cut out with your framelits. You can really just pick and choose where they all go. Okay, so I'm going to skip the clouds at this very second because I can't find them because I've moved them. But the one thing we are still going to do before I wrap it up, we put on, I actually put the number on the front piece with dimensionals, so it has more of a pop, but I put the rest of the letters with just regular snail. So, and these guys are stamped, and then they are attached to the glimmer paper with fast fuse or some sort of a heavier duty kind of glue, and then they are put on with dimensionals, so they do actually pop out a bit. Okay, yeah, so I think that's what I'm going to leave you guys with, because my thing is flashing and I don't know what that means. So, because I'm still learning. But basically, all in all, if you look at the bottom, guys, there's going to be a link to my blog, yourstappinscrapbooker.com. I have a blog post where I will have all of the instructions, step by step, all the dimensions, the score lines, supplies, with the links to my shop, so you can purchase any of the supplies that we use today. The link will most likely be for the card with the Emerald Envy, but I will actually mention in my blog, I will list what I used for this guy as well. Okay, thanks so much for all of your support. Please don't be too hard on me. I know this is not the best view it could possibly be, but I am still learning, and yeah, have some patience, but hopefully you guys appreciate learning how to make a super awesome WOW card. Thanks so much, guys. Bye.